Hi, you're watching Current Issues. My name is Vineet Malhotra. 16 people are kidnapped every day in Delhi. And just a few days ago, there were also another report that the Northeast District is turning out to be Delhi's most heinous crime area. Even the public places like India Gate, the metro, railway stations are considered to be unsafe for the public. The status of women's safety in Delhi is globally known, but who should be made accountable for this mess? This image of Delhi. Delhi's CM would turn around and say that the police does not come under him. So should both the centre and state government be held up for the scrutiny over their poor record on Delhi's crime rates? We'll get into this debate, and we'll also have some of our guests who will be sharing their viewpoints and stats as we go along. Shikha Rai of the BJP will be joining us, and Shilpi Jain, the lawyer of esteemed repute from the Supreme Court, is also with us. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Adarsh Shastri, leader of the Aam Aadmi Party, will be with us, and Vikram Singh, former IPS officer, will be joining us on the phone line. Shilpi Jain, thank you for talking to us. Now, Delhi being the capital, there has been this tug of war between the centre and the state that as to who gets to control the police. The Delhi government more or less has washed its hands off the security situation in Delhi, and the stats that we get to see, 16 people are kidnapped on a daily basis in India. These numbers are going through the roof. Potentially we want to make Delhi a technology hub, a digital hub, a place where tourists and the residents can feel safe. What's your perspective on what's going on? And the incumbent government continues to blame the opposition and other forces that don't allow them to do their work. What's your perspective?
This being the capital, we attract people from the adjoining areas, some of them being rural areas. So when these people come into Delhi, there is a cultural shock, a social shock for them. So obviously there is a lot of awareness of women, hence the crime rate, the high crime rate in Delhi. But as far as the central government and the state government tiff is concerned, the politicians are known for throwing the buck at the other person. They never like to stand accountable or be responsible to the people for who elect them. Having said that, I would like to say that the laws are in place, the punishment is in place. The problem is the implementation of the laws.
Okay.
And the implementation is in the hands of the lowest rung officials of the police.
Okay, Vikram Singh, former IPS officer, is also with us on the phone line. Mr. Vikram Singh, there are laws, there is punishment, there is probably even, apprehension. But the implementation is the part where the police is not doing their job, and that is the reason Delhi has become such a mess. It's become so unsafe that 60% of the people, Praja Foundation conducted this survey that 60% of the people, and it was a sample of 30,000 households in March and April, say that they don't feel safe in Delhi. Your perspective, sir?
Well, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This survey, I must compliment them for a very accurate and an objective survey. But the exponential increase in the population of Delhi, the concomitant increase that would have happened in the number of policemen and officers and the force multipliers, that has not happened. What you need now is to scale down the VIP security, give more to law and order and crime control. Have your databases up to date, have border meetings with neighboring states, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, and also Uttarakhand and Rajasthan too, because as one speaker had very rightly mentioned, that there is so much of influx of population that you need to have a proper system of surveillance and beat work of the constables. That obviously has not happened. Therefore, the upgradation of the police reforms, and a new generation of policing is that what is required. The insecurity, unfortunately, is true, and I would tend to agree with the survey that the insecurity is here, and unless you take us very strong measures for course correction, you'd not be able to handle this menace.
Absolutely. And Mr. Adarsh Shastri, leader of the Aam Aadmi Party, is also with us on a phone line. Mr. Shastri, unless strong steps are taken, Delhi cannot be portrayed as a city which is safe for women, a city which is safe for the elderly, and a city which is safe to travel. Now, the Aam Aadmi Party has been running a campaign which is dissuading people, discouraging people from drinking in public. But, sir, the security situation in the capital of the largest democracy in the world is very, very pathetic, sir. What are the impediments?
I absolutely agree with you, and I think Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has been raising this issue over the last 2 years consistently. And the problem with Delhi is manifold. One, of course, is the challenge of Delhi being geographically located, bordering Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan, due to which there is a huge amount of migrating population which moves through Delhi, comes for a short while, and then leaves back to their homes. So, establishing their identity, establishing their credibility, establishing their permanent residence, and verifying that is a big challenge. We all understand that. The issue here is that the Delhi police is also one of the largest police forces in India. Considering the geographical size of the state of Delhi, which is very small, it is among the smallest states in India, the ratio of the number of policemen per square kilometer is among the highest.
Right.
In spite of that, the crime levels have been going up. I think clearly the reason for this has been the lack of leadership towards the Delhi police, right down from the Home Ministry, from where it is controlled. And rather than focusing on, stopping crime, discouraging crime, preventing crime, the focus has been more on politicizing the Delhi police, which is where the challenge lies. And I think if that challenge is taken care of, if the Delhi police are instructed to focus on policing Delhi, rather than doing a witch hunt and vindictive politics of the controlled, Delhi police, BJP-controlled Delhi police, I think Delhi will see some increased safety.
Okay, well, Shilpi, Mr. Adarsh Shastri feels that the Home Ministry, which controls the police, is probably, not even worried about what is going under its nose. The capital that we all live out of, the capital that we want to thrive, is, stuck in some sort of a tug of war in which, the police is controlled by a particular organization and an authority which cannot see the vices that are attached with, policing in our city, in our capital. Do you concur with that?
Yes, and there is a reason for that. It suits the politicians if the policing and the judicial sections are a little weak, because they have their own skeletons in the cupboard which they want to be settled, and the weaker these two sections are, the more it suits the politicians. Because otherwise it's very simple. Now, if you go on the website of Delhi Police, you will see that it's, the 10th pass can enter the Delhi Police. That is the basic requirement. These are the people who will henceforth investigate the criminal cases, which means they will lay the foundation of the criminal case. And their salaries are low, the infrastructure is very weak. These are very simple things, these basic police reforms which the government deliberately, government after government, doesn't want to do anything about it. So there is a method to it. Why they don't want to do it? It suits them if these two wings are weak. The lower judiciary and the police, the more stressed they are, the more likely they are to be corrupt. Because if you have a constable who is getting a very low salary, is having a weak infrastructure, doesn't get a house to stay in, doesn't have fixed timings, he's stressed out, so he somewhere justifies taking bribe. Now, these things can be done away with very easily if he is given a good salary. The qualification should be raised at least to a graduate. I would say for higher officers, it should be LLB graduate. I mean, after all, you are going to, implement the law with regard to specific cases. So you need to know the basic. Now, what can a 10th pass do? The power gets into his head, and the salary is too low, the infrastructure is weak, and he justifies bribe and corruption in so many ways. And everyone in the government knows the haftas are fixed for these guys. Everyone knows. But nobody wants to do anything about it. Nobody even wants to think about it because it suits them.
That's a very valid point.
A weak judiciary.
Shikha Rai of the BJP is also with us. Thank you, Shikha, for talking to us. Like Shilpi pointed out, Shikha, the Delhi police is underpaid, it's undereducated, and the recent feeling is that nobody wants to take the police seriously because all they're worried about or all they want to do is probably make money. And that is why, they compromise in terms of, the crime and the percentage of, the acceleration of crime that is actually, savaging our city, our capital.
I think first of all, I just would want to say that we should not generalize everything, police is uneducated, police is whatever, like has been said by Shilpi. To an extent, it is right. But whatever good is done by police, I think we must also take into consideration and appreciate that in view of the fact that Delhi population is increasing every day. Thousands of people come here every day. So, so to say that crime is increasing as far as the population is concerned, I think keeping in view this fact also, we should see to it that the police in Delhi is definitely always under pressure, under continuous daily effort. More daily effort is needed for all these purposes. Yes, all these things which Shilpi, I was just listening to that, is saying is to some extent, yes, they are right. We need some kind of reforms in police also, in the system, yes, of course, if a salaried person is given a good salary, then definitely he would not go in for, as you said, any kind of corruption and all, everything is fine. But what I am trying to say is that whatever, maybe it's little, maybe it's not sufficient, but whatever is done by the police right now should also be appreciated to some extent as to what they're doing. As in the cases of the kidnapped children or the missing persons, what we heard recently is that police has formed a system where the officers are assigned to this missing persons only, the kidnapped children for them only, and they are in constant touch with the families of the children. And out of 5,000 or 6,000 reported cases this year in Delhi, 3,000 were actually those who came into the category of kidnapping and all. So all this, I am saying it may not be sufficient, but something is being done and much more is required to be done.
Okay, Vikram Singh, former IPS officer, is still with us on the phone line. Mr. Vikram Singh, Shilpi has very rightly pointed out that the undereducation of, the beat cop or the people or, the police guys who actually investigate the cases, their views and their area of concern is so myopic because of being underpaid and undereducated that the taxpayer is actually having to face the brunt of all of this. Okay, I think we've lost the line with Mr. Vikram Singh over there. Adarsh Shastri is probably still with us on the phone line. Mr. Shastri, the myopic view of, the common beat police officer is the reason that the taxpayer of Delhi are facing a lot of issues. 60% of the people, when they don't feel safe in a particular city, especially being the capital, now that is something very, very embarrassing for any country. After the Nirbhaya case on December the 16th, 2012, there was probably a hope that things would change, the criminal system would go through an overhaul, but that has not happened. So what do you think have been the impediments which still continue to make Delhi and portray Delhi as a very unsafe city?
So I think there are three more aspects to this and we should clearly understand. One is, the myopic view or the fact that the police force needs to be, the constabulary needs to be educated enough, which is one aspect of it. But I think the other is about intent. I think the intent, if we see until and unless there are major incidents like the Nirbhaya case or others, then we see knee-jerk reactions from the government and from the police. Apart from that, we have not seen any action at the ground level. We've been hearing about the Nirbhaya fund. There's been no action on that. In fact, that fund has been closed, the last we heard. Similarly, there was discussion and talks about Mohalla committees being formed by the police force. Nothing's happened on that. There was discussion about the dark areas being lit up and being lit up until the time they are not lit up, police patrolling to be increased. That has not happened. So at the ground level, there is a lack of intent in terms of delivering, control, delivering safety for citizens of Delhi. And that's the challenge. And my question always is that why does it seem that the Delhi police's intent suddenly shoots up? The energy levels go up when it is an Aam Aadmi Party. 14 MLAs of the Aam Aadmi Party have been arrested till now in the last 20 months. Not even in one out of those 14 cases has the Delhi police filed a charge sheet. Now, a charge sheet typically means that this is the view and the proof that the Delhi police wants to submit to the court with regard to the reason of arrest. In 14 cases, they arrested without being able to file a charge sheet in 20 months. They have the energy to send a battalion of policemen to arrest MLAs and then do not have the energy to file a charge sheet because obviously they have no proof. But when it comes to policing, and managing the safety of women, policing poor neighborhoods, policing, schools and areas around schools, the intent is suddenly lost. I think the challenge here is of intent more than their education. I think education is something which can come up over a period of time, but I think it is the lack of intent which needs to be looked at by the Ministry of Home Affairs and by the LG if we want Delhi citizens to feel safe.
Okay, Vikram Singh, former IPS officer, is back with us on the phone line. Vikram Singh, sir, Shilpi raised a very valid and a very bona fide point that, the work has to be done from the ground up. The education, the filtration system, the process. Probably we've lost the connection with Mr. Vikram Singh. Shikha Rai, coming to you. Shikha Rai of the BJP. Mr. Shastri very well pointed out that, there is a lapse in the way the filtration process, the selection process of the police officers happens. But on the other hand, the intent, the political will, probably courage for a sweeping change in the way the police works is something that's supposed to be initiated by the Home Ministry. When will we get to see that, ma'am?
See, I don't think there is any lack of intent on the part of the government or the politicians, as Mr. Shastri said. I think he was divulging from the arguments and talked about the MLAs against whom the FIRs have been lodged and some of them are arrested also. On the one hand, we are saying Delhi police is not doing anything, and on the other hand, if they actively, these MLAs are people's representative. Mr. Shastri should know that. They are role models of the society. So if they do something wrong and the police have taken view of that and FIRs were lodged, that's why they were being arrested. Of course, there were charges against them. That's why they were being arrested. So if police has done something, police is criticized for that also. If they don't do, then it's lack of intention. I don't know. There can't be any double standards. For an MLA or an ordinary person is just the same. If an FIR is lodged against an ordinary person, if he is arrested, we say police is doing a good job. And if it is Aam Aadmi Party MLA against whom FIR is lodged and is arrested, and say it's a bad job on the part of the police. So I think we should rise above BJP, AAP and any other party. We should, if we are talking about the reforms, if we are talking about the crime actually taking place, and if we want something to do for Delhi, we should come above this. And let's talk about this as to, yes, what more is required to be done on the part of the police, which if it's any party, be it any party here in Delhi, it is Aam Aadmi Party. And let me just ask a question to Mr. Shastri. As far as Delhi is unsafe, Delhi feels, then how about your government's part, the Delhi government's part, which they had said, then in DTC buses they'll provide marshals. In all the roads they would have them well lit. Anything which is required on the government's part, which they should do to make people safe here feel in Delhi, what have they done? I'm not saying I'm defending anybody who's not done anything for Delhi, but those who have not done, in it comes the Delhi government also. What about their role, their part? Have they done anything about it?
Okay, let's go across to Shilpi and get a perspective on whatever has transpired in the last 5-7 minutes. Shilpi, the Aam Aadmi Party, before they got voted in, they made a few promises. There'll be marshals, Delhi will be full of CCTV cameras. Even for call centers, girls who are traveling late at night, there will be it's going to be compulsory. It's going to be mandatory that there will be a male person in that mode of transportation. But none of these changes, none of these promises of the manifesto, if I may call them so, have actually become reality for Delhiites. The government also probably should realize that the faith of the people is at stake over here.
As far as this specific party is concerned, they claimed to turn around the situation by 360 degrees. So, and people, those who voted for them were foolish enough to have bought this, because I don't think any government can turn around things by 360 degrees, and they have not done it even by 5 degrees. So, it's there for everybody to see what is the reality and what were the false promises they made. Now, having said that, I would just like to, refer to the comment by the BJP panelist who was saying that the FIRs were registered and so the intent is in place and police is doing good work. I think we all know that I, at least in my experience of 27 years in practice, haven't heard of too many politicians getting convicted ever. Just because a complaint discloses cognizable offence, the registration of FIR is legally kind of, these days, it's impossible to get away from that if you have to register FIR, otherwise the Supreme Court is keeping a watch, particularly in Delhi. But they stop at registering the FIR. That is why I started with this, that to have a weak police system, a weak judiciary at the lower rung level, it suits these politicians. Half the cases are theirs. And if they have corrupt police officials, they can always run to them and settle their own cases and settle, so it suits them. Is it so complicated? The police, Delhi police, we all know, the constables, the sub-inspectors, not the IPS, they are overworked, underpaid. And if you improve, I mean, the MLAs ask for, increasing their salaries by 4 times or something. The MPs want it to be doubled already. They are so well placed. Nobody thinks of the constable or the sub-inspector, knowing that the main reason for corruption is, many of them say we can't even educate the children in good school if we are not corrupt. I'm not saying that is a good enough justification, but the fact is, if you give them a better life, they will feel less tempted and, take stock of things. And education, you say it doesn't matter, because if a person is 10th pass, you give him a wireless phone, give him the power to investigate. The fact is he hasn't grown mentally. So it's not just education, it's with education comes mental growth. He may learn the sections thereafter, but he doesn't learn about life. So the power is bound to get into his head, and we all know that these, lower rung officials, the constable and ASI, they are more high-headed than an IPS officer. An IPS officer is more level-headed because he's gone through certain stages in life. He knows how to deal with crisis. He knows how to behave in society. But these people have the danda. If they don't know I'm a lawyer, half the time they run me down everywhere. They would run into me. So that is how the mindset is. Education does not give you only bookish knowledge. It tells you lessons of life, which is very important. It should be a certain age that below which you cannot join the Delhi police and be given the power to arrest and be given a power to investigate a case and decide who is to be a criminal and who is not to be, because they are mentally immature, not just uneducated.
Absolutely. And Shikha, very rightly pointed out by Shikha, that the parameters for becoming a police officer in our country are probably not very ambitious. And if they're not very ambitious, it does not fall very high on the government's list of priorities. Considering the crime rate, the soaring crime rate in Delhi, what can we expect in the next few weeks to come? Can we expect some change? This issue was also raised in the parliament. It is something which is embarrassing.
In few weeks, I'm sorry, no, that's right. See, this is not something which is like for a matter of days or weeks. As you said, in coming weeks we would see, but definitely yes, these issues want consideration, and it's not that government is not aware of all this and it's not having an intent to do anything for this. That's for sure. I can vouch for it, and I can tell here as a party person that it's not that there is no lack of intention, but yes, of course there has to be some policy decision for this. And as far as it was being told that education, I think more than education, it is the sensitization, it is the individual's sensitivity which definitely matters in such kind of services. Of course education matters, but sometimes yes, for some kind of jobs, if lesser kind of education is required, more sensitization and more sensitivity towards people, towards women, towards children, that is what is required from the police. And so definitely there has to be some kind of a system evolved in police, maybe in the form of reforms, maybe in the form of some appointments like that, fresh appointments will be based on this and that. But yes, certainly some more is required in these services now, keeping in view all the considerations, all the facts that now even a criminal person has more methods of communication with him. I'm just giving some examples. They have also become smart to curb that. Now to control that, you have to be more smarter than that. So
Right,
for that
absolutely.
matter, definitely police system also has to be more smarter. So
Okay.
I am not saying, I'm as a BJP person, if you would say, I would say everything is all right. No.
Okay, Shikha, the crux of the matter, Shikha, is, I'm sorry that I have to
evolution.
interrupt. The crux of the matter, Shikha, is that we have to evolve, we have to change the policing system and the education system of the police from the ground up if we want to sensitize the policemen to be, in fact, wary of the crime that is happening in the capital of the largest democracy in the world. With that, we'd like to end the show. Shilpi Jain and Shikha Rai, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your valuable points. That's all we have on the show. We'll see you tomorrow. Keep watching News World India. Thank you.